What is up, everybody? Coming to you live from my parents' house. We got can you believe this? Episode 20 of the Changavi Aftershow. For those of you that are new, welcome. This is the show where I get to talk a lot of shit and you get to listen to a lot of my shit. So be ready for the next, 30, 45 minutes, hour, depending on how heated I get with this shit talk, to just listen to me talk about random stuff. This is not to be cited in a research paper. That's the other show. So go check that one out if you guys are looking for a more professional, well put together, less swearing type show. But if you're looking for me to just, shoot the breeze, this is it. You're at the right place. So episode 20. Those of you that are new, hi. I'm a Nuge. That's my first name. My last name is the title of the show, so you should probably know that. But in case you didn't, it's Changavi. Anyway, welcome to the after show. Let's get started. Listen, this show is a lot about what I'm thinking about in regards to like my content, in regards to current events in the world, in regards to all the different shit that's going on. So it's very ADHD. It'll move on from one thought to the next like very quickly. And honestly, what what I've been thinking about recently is my numbers. And what I mean by numbers is like subscriber counts, follower counts, likes, comments, that type of stuff. And I know I took a couple weeks off, and so the engagement's pretty low, and so like building that back up is tough. But I don't know. I've been looking at like my year over year growth, and it's definitely like not where I would like it to be in terms of like the growth. But I think I mean, I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried about it. And it's not to say that like I'm gonna quit or anything, but like it's definitely something that like I guess all creators have at the back of their mind. Like as much fun as you could be having doing whatever it is you're doing, at the end of the day, like if it's not producing at a certain level, clearly you need to try something different because, at the end of it's this weird relationship of like you want to create what you want to create, but at the same time, you got to create what people like. And you got to find a format that sticks. I feel like I've been finding a format on like TikTok that's been working. The followers again there haven't really followed in like thousands, but I guess it's all a slow process at the end of the day. So I'm not too concerned about it, but like I don't know, I just had like a wave of anxiety flow me the last 3 or 4 days of like, holy shit, you really like aren't anything despite what you may think, which is crazy because I feel like I've made significant progress, but it hasn't shown numerically, at least in the metrics. But I don't know. Yeah, like, should I be worried about my numbers? What do you guys think? Like, I'm curious. But I don't know. I like the thing is I try not to get too caught up in it. So I've like distanced myself from the numbers and like focusing on creating like really good stuff that I'm proud of. But it's hard to not like get, sucked into analytics. And I think I did a little too much analytic deep dive this weekend to the point where I started to get worried for my own sort of what's it called? So my own sort of career and that if it was ever going to take off. But I I guess like the one thing that gives me solace is that like I've done a lot of research into like other creators and into other sort of people in the space of podcasting, of content creating and YouTube. It takes years really to like get to where you want to be. I mean, it took what was it? It took Casey Neistat like 5 years to get to 1 million subscribers on YouTube. It took Yes Theory 5 years. It took like Colin and Samir 10 years to like get to where they're at today. Like just various things like that. Like it takes time and everyone's got their own unique path that they go on and it's tough. And it's gonna, it's gonna test you in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, like you're gonna figure like hopefully it figures itself out. And I guess you just gotta keep trying and keep going and things will work itself out. But yeah, I can't lie to you and say like I'm not worried about it. It's definitely something that's always at the back of my mind in terms of like, what if the numbers will never go up? But I mean, I don't know. It's a worry, but also at the same time, it's like dude, it'll come. Like I'm not worried about it. Because I know I put in the work And like that's the most important thing for me is like, am I putting in the work I should? And I think the last couple of weeks, the answer to that question is no, which is why I guess I've been a little concerned about the numbers, so to speak. But I think if I put it like if you put in effort into something, you should get results. And I was getting results when I was putting max effort in throughout really like February through April. Like I was really seeing this thing start to grow and really happy with where it was. So I'm gonna continue to put in the effort that I possibly can. It's gonna get a little busier and stuff with life and whatnot, but hopefully it continues to work. But I mean, obviously I'm not going to give this up. Like this is just a blip in the journey, but it's just what I'm thinking about. Like it's kind of hard to relate, I guess, if you're not a creator and you're like, why are you worried about your YouTube subscribers? Like you're still young, but like if you really want to do this for a living and like this is like your dream and like everything you want, then it's hard to like quantify the fact that like it feels like you're making okay, I guess the way to break it down is like I know there are so many people out there that have their own various dreams in various industries and they are working towards those dreams. And so they've achieved a little like they feel like they're achieving something, but like in the grand scheme of the world and the outside world, people look at you and they're like, you haven't really done anything. It's been a year and this thing's been pretty stagnant. But you feel like you've made significant progress, but society does not reward that progress. Is I guess the sort of pickle that I'm caught in here, in terms of like me being worried about my numbers. But it's okay. It's all good. I'm still, we still got time. I'm 21 years old. Hopefully, hopefully I'm not sitting here at 30 like I'm worried about my numbers. I quit. This is the worst. But yeah, I don't think it'll happen. Anyway, that's just one thing I've been concerned about recently is my numbers and my subscriber counts and all that stuff. But I try not to get too caught up in it. But let's transition because the show's supposed to be fun, not me just being depresso. The NBA Finals have been taking place, and of course, my Golden State Warriors have been in the NBA Finals. I've been doing the little recaps on TikTok, so if you're from there, hello, hi. But I've been doing little recaps and stuff on TikTok about all of the NBA Finals stuff and everything that's been going on with in regards to that sense of life. Listen, the finals. It's been quite like I've been a Warriors fan since as long as I can remember, and this finals, it feels like it's almost like a new chapter of the dynasty, which it truly is. And it's very interesting to like have seen the first chapter and really like saw that whole thing unfold and then close, and then see chapter 2 sort of start itself again. So it's very interesting to be like seeing and viewing all of this from that angle. But I guess if you want my overall thoughts on the 2022 NBA Finals, it's this. I think this is going to be a grinder of a series. I think if you could, you could probably tell by the first 2 games. I think game 1, I thought we had control over, and I really thought we had that game in the bag. Of course, didn't score a field goal for 5 or 6 minutes, and you lost the game. And then game 2, it was the same thing, except we just kept pressing the brake and just continued to like throttle the accelerator, and we won the game. We didn't take our foot off the gas like we did in game 1, and it's 1-1. And Boston, I'll say this on the record, extremely formidable team. They're super good, very, very solid in all regards, and I have no ill will towards them. They're a bunch of good players. I love watching Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like Tatum's one of my favorite players in the league, so getting to play him in the finals was pretty cool. Jaylen Brown also really dynamic as well. Like I just think their whole team is really cool. I've been rooting for them to go far in the playoffs, but now that they're in the finals and playing my team, it's like, but it is 1-1. And listen, like a lot of people are newer basketball fans are like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. It's 1-1. I'm like, dude, chill. I think like the one thing that I've learned from this playoffs, and just the playoff runs that my teams have had in the last year, whether that be the Giants, whether that be the Niners, whether that be the Warriors, is you got to enjoy it. You got to like sit there and take it back, or like just take it in for a second and be like, my team's in the NBA Finals, or like my team is in the playoffs, and just enjoy the fact that they're on the run, because you're gonna regret it when 2 years down the line they're not, and you're missing out on playoff basketball like crazy. So enjoy it while it's going on. I try to as best as I can, even though I do yell at the TV occasionally. And I think that's the one thing that I've learned recently from these playoff runs is like you gotta enjoy the moment, because if you don't enjoy it now, then who is going to tell you to enjoy it later? And you're going to regret that you didn't fully take in that moment, because your team's in the playoffs, and you don't. And like that's the thing. It's a good lesson for life, because you don't know how many more opportunities you're going to get at that certain thing. You don't know how many more opportunities your team is going to be in the Super Bowl or late into the playoffs. And this is for sports fans, and it could also apply to life as well. Like you don't know how many more opportunities you're going to get at a certain thing, so fuck it, make the most of it. And you're spitting facts right now, bro. Spitting facts right now. Yeah. But it's 1-1. I think Warriors in 7. I'm still sticking to that prediction. I genuinely believe that like that's the way this series is gonna go. It's so close. I think they're gonna split. Boston and Golden State are gonna split games 3 and 4. They're gonna come back to the Bay. And we'll go from there. But I think it's gonna be an extremely competitive series. Very excited to see how this whole thing turns out. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I think it's gonna be really good. Hopefully the Warriors win. They don't break my heart, but I'm gonna try to enjoy it as best as possible, because my team's in the playoffs. My team is deep into the playoffs. Like I didn't even suspect that this was gonna happen this year. I thought maybe tops Western Conference Finals. Like we could just call it a day at that point. But the fact that we're here, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to even like be in this situation. And I think 2 years off, and with the pandemic and all of these things, like it's given me more perspective of like, dude, you like lived through a dynastic era when I was in high school. Like they were just winning championships on championships, and then 2-year break, and then they're back. So enjoy it, because I don't know if a dynasty is ever gonna come back. Like that's the weirdest part, is like in my whole life they could just be a mediocre playoff team. They could be the Utah Jazz right now, but I'm gonna enjoy this moment. So for all my Warrior haters, fuck you guys. I'm gonna enjoy my time. Okay. Listen, I started my internship recently. And it's been going really good. Like I can't not complain. It's great. The people have been extremely nice at the internship. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a big learning experience already, and I can already see some things that I really want to apply here and make a reality. So just more experience with tools, getting like more of the graphic experience, all of that stuff. Like it's really definitely a lot of stuff that I'm already seeing that like, okay, like I can fix this here, fix that here. So it's nice to like be able to work on stuff that I could totally apply in not only my career, but this, which I want to make a career, this podcast. So learning a lot so far about different stuff, and I'm excited for it. But here's the thing. Here's a phenomenon I want to talk about that I don't believe gets vocalized as often as it should. So this is my first ever like quote unquote office job, right? Working in like a professional, quote unquote professional, like sort of corporate setting. This is the first time. This is the first time I've ever been in like a department of a company as an intern, as anything. And before this, I mean, I like made money, but I made money doing like sort of blue collar jobs, like working in a kitchen, working in a restaurant, working at a pizza place, that type of stuff, washing dishes, working with your hands. And as someone who now has, I mean, I only have like 2 weeks perspective here, I guess, at this job, but as someone who's had perspective in both areas, I can tell you the transition is weird. It's weird because I don't know. It's very strange. And I could sort of relate to people who started working as started working as like a server in a restaurant and now work like professional jobs. I'm curious to like hear what your experience is. Like, did you guys have to undergo a certain transition when you like got to an office for the first time or like started working in a more corporate professional setting? Because I feel like I have. And I remember the first couple days I was like, what did I get myself into? This is so hard. I don't know how I'm gonna fit in here. And it's just weird. Like because my whole life I had worked in my whole working life I'd worked in a lot of like blue collared settings where you don't have to give a fuck necessarily. You can swear, you can you're just it's very loose. It's very it's like you make messed up jokes. Like it's kind of like it's hard to describe what working in a kitchen is like without like getting canceled on the internet. But let's just say most of the stuff that gets said in there like would probably be just highly criticized over Twitter, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, like you have like this kind of camaraderie and like all this time with your coworkers, and it's very different. Like working in a kitchen versus or like working in a restaurant versus working in corporate America, two completely different things. And I get it. Like it's a really anxious transition for me just because like I'm not used to this. Like I'm not used to like presenting myself well and like talking eloquently in meetings like I'm some educated fool. Obviously I haven't had to do much yet because I'm still 2 weeks on this job. I sure as hell hope they don't see this and laugh, but like I don't know. I've been it's been a transition for sure. Like going from sort of blue collar to white collar work is it's weird. And I'm curious like if I'm sure there's so many people who've made that transition and are probably like, dude, stop overthinking it. Like you're fine. But I don't know. I think it might be it's probably really hard for people who like grew up in blue collar families and worked blue collar jobs their entire life and got their first office job and suddenly like the whole culture is completely different. Like at least like I grew up in the Silicon Valley, so I grew up around a lot of this like engineering and all of these things because my dad was an engineer, so or is an engineer, so like I grew up around that kind of office life, office culture. So I kind of had semi exposure to it. But I feel like if if you don't have that exposure, if you don't have like friends or like close people in your family like related to you that have gone through that professional experience, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I kind of feel that to a certain extent, but at least like I have people around me that have been through the office and so they kind of like know what to do in terms of like, okay, like this is how you act, this is how you dress, etc., etc. But it is very strange. It is filled with anxiety in terms of like the way I act, and I feel like sometimes like I don't belong, and like sometimes like maybe I should just go back to the kitchen. But like you know, it's strange, and but I'm honestly like very grateful for the opportunity. Of course, like I don't want to like understate that. It's been it's a difficult transition, especially when you're coming from uh the blue collar world, I guess, like I am, and you don't necessarily have that. Yeah, I miss parts of the kitchen for sure. Like I miss parts of the restaurant, but I guess I do have a lot of anxiety when it comes to like, you know, making sure that I'm doing the right thing and like saying the right thing and like not being too rude and all of these things. So hopefully, hopefully I'm on the right track. If I'm not, I will keep you guys updated. It'll be a good character development, I guess, if I'm not. But I don't know. Maybe it's just my anxiety talking, but like, yeah, the adjustment from like a blue collar work setting to a white collar one is not easy. I wish they had like classes or something, some transitional classes, how to be, how to like ease yourself into it without just like feeling completely overwhelmed and like you don't belong. But I feel like that goes for any like work setting, right? Like if you kind of transition jobs or whatever, like and you end up in a new place, like it's different and you feel weird about it, but and eventually you get used to it. But I don't know. This is really strange. I didn't think I'd feel this way. I was like, okay, like I kind of know what working in an office and that sort of thing is about, but no, 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 it's very different. Anyway, I watched Top Gun Maverick this weekend. Okay, I don't want to talk about professional anxiety. Fuck that. I watched Top Gun Maverick this weekend. Top Gun Maverick, man, movie of the year. Movie of the year? Nah, it was really good though. It was really, 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 really good. I was very um pleasantly surprised at this movie because coming in, I had pretty low expectations. As someone who had watched Top Gun multiple times as a kid, like I was a big Top Gun guy. I loved Tom Cruise, Kelly McGinnis. Like that was like my thing. Like I love that movie. It's a great movie. I was like, how are you going to make a sequel to a movie that literally just already like wraps itself up after the first movie? It wraps up so nicely. And I was like, how are they going to take this movie to the next level? Or like take it, have a good sequel that isn't just, oh, remember this character, remember that character. Oh, the band's getting back together one last time when they're 50 years old and fat. Okay, they saved the day, the end, right? This movie was not like that. For those of you that are expecting that sort of like nostalgia, kind of actor shoved down your like old Top Gun references shoved down your throat. This is not that type of movie. This movie is very different. It's almost it can really be its own standalone film. You do not necessarily have to have watched the first Top Gun to really understand what's going on. I felt like this was pretty independent. Of course, it's really nice to have watched the first one because then you get like a lot of the subtle references and there's certain things. But it's really good. That's what I'll say about this movie because, like, it's such a what do you call? It's such a it's such like a throwback of a movie put into this society that we live in, which is like hyper anti-military and like anti America. It's kind of interesting how the success of Top Gun how it's kind of interesting as to like why the hell is Top Gun Maverick so successful in an era where everybody hates the military for the most part in mainstream media. People don't like the military spending. People don't like fighter pilots. How is this movie so successful? And I figured I thought about it. I was like, okay, but the answer is simple. It's like people love simple shit. That's really why I feel like this movie is so popular. Is how I'm not trying to take away from how good this movie is. I personally really enjoyed it. Um, and I think you should go watch it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but go watch the movie first and then tell me. But like, I just thought the movie, like in itself, is very simple and it's very easy to digest for like multiple different types of audiences. Not only like kids who are 15, 16 years old, but like adults as well. And they adults watching that movie are probably like, I love the OG Top Gun, and this one's just as good, or like this one is right at that level, um, or even better. And I don't know. There's something about the simplicity of the movie that just I really love. Uh, and I think that's why it was popular in the 1980s when it came out. It was just a bunch of fighter pilots destroying a bunch of shit and against like ambiguous military enemies. And this is the same thing today. Is it's bringing back that sort of Cold War militaristic vibe of like we love America and America's military is the number one in the world. Oh yeah. And then like, going from there and just like destroying things. It's like I think like who doesn't love a movie with fighter pilots and action sequences that are top notch? Like it's cool. It's just cool. And it's a nice change of pace from like the art house movies that I tend to watch or like rom-coms or any of that stuff because it's just different. And it's a solid movie is what I'd say. And I was a big fan um of the film itself. I think Top Gun fans fans from the first movie are really going to like this because there is a decent amount of like references back to the original. And I think newer age people who aren't as familiar with Top Gun as itself are going to be extremely happy with this movie because it's a movie for everyone. Go take your families, go take your girlfriends, go take your wives, go take your boyfriends, your significant others, whoever. You could take your dogs to this movie; they'd probably love it. Like anybody. I guarantee you, everyone. This is a movie for everyone. Like you can 100% go watch this. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend. And I will post a TikTok with more of like my 3 takeaways that I took from this movie. But I find it really interesting that a movie from the 1980s, a movie that was built around sort of the Cold War and American, like just pure patriotic blood like sense is doing so well in a time where this country is so divided and a time where this country is so um it feels like so like anti what America is doing. And this super high, like this movie was almost made to be like, and there's actually like articles like written about this. Like Top Gun in the 1980s was made to be like a hyper American type film, like super patriotic, super nationalistic. And I know nationalistic has like a negative connotation to it, but this movie has like that same sort of vibe, and it just holds up. People love it, and so I find that very, very interesting. Definitely something to look out for. Like, why is a hyper patriotic movie doing so well in our society? Maybe people just want to like feel like they're in agreement, because I feel like we've been disagreeing with everyone. Well, everyone's been disagreeing with everyone for the last whatever it is, 5, 6, 7 years. We just want to be like, fuck this. Like, let's just watch a movie with cool action sequences. I don't know the answer. Maybe I'm reading too deep into it. It's probably the latter. But yeah, Top Gun Maverick. Definitely go check it out. A lot of things to be talked about from this movie for sure. Listen, Tank Man. So for those of you that didn't know, my last Changavi show episode 36, by the way, go check it out. I did about Tiananmen Square. It was really, like, I thought it was really well done. And I covered like everything related to like before the event and during the event and after the event. And there was one key event that I left out, and I did this intentionally. So a lot of people have been commenting, and they're like, Anuj, you did an episode about Tiananmen Square, but you didn't talk about Tank Man. And I just want everyone to know, I 100% know Tank Man exists, but I left Tank Man out for a reason. I left Tank Man out because I felt that if I had kept because I felt that like when it comes to Tiananmen Square, everyone knows about Tank Man. Tank Man is the one thing that every person in America can point to that picture and be like, oh, that's China, 1989. People know that. People know that picture is one of the most universally recognized pictures around the world. I do not need to spend time explaining that picture because everyone knows the significance behind it. Everyone knows what happened. That's what Tiananmen Square is known for. But no one really knows the history behind Tiananmen Square. So my logic was like, listen, I'm not going to talk about the most obvious possible thing from this entire event. Let me talk about all of the stuff that people don't know about, and then just like leave out Tank Man. Maybe I shouldn't have left out Tank Man. So let me talk a little bit about what Tank Man is. Tank Man, for those of you that don't know, look it up on the internet if you want a reference to it, is a picture where there's a guy who's standing on one of the main streets in Beijing, and there's like 3 tanks coming down the road, and he's just standing there with like 2 of his grocery bags, just kind of looking at these tanks. And basically, like, people love the picture because it symbolizes like the common man versus, you know, the power and the resources and the military of a very oppressive big country like China. And so this picture is synonymous with Tiananmen Square. It's won a bunch of awards, all of these things. And so people wanted me to talk about it, but I figured like everybody knows about it. And it's a very powerful picture. If you look at it, it's honestly like a super powerful image, and it's amazing. And I would highly recommend you just search it up into the internet and you take from that picture whatever you think. But there's like a whole story behind it about like the guy. He was basically just like doing groceries, and like he was taking his little 2 bags of, it literally looks like grocery bags, so I presume it was groceries. He was just taking his groceries across the street, and I guess he like was trying to cross, and the tanks were in the way, and he just stood up against the tanks. And the story after that is that the picture was taken, and the guy basically got like taken into one of the tanks, and he's never been seen from or heard from again. No one can identify who exactly it was. No one knows his name, nothing. So like, we actually don't know who the Tank Man is, besides the fact that his name is Tank Man. He's probably one of the most universally recognized photographs in the entire world. So that's pretty cool if you think about it that way. But yes, I did not talk about Tank Man on my show. I'm fully aware. I'm also fully aware that Tank Man is a huge part of Tiananmen Square. But like I said earlier, just wanted to talk about all the other stuff that maybe people don't know about. But that's my quick spiel on Tank Man. Maybe I'll post this on TikTok so everyone knows. Listen, okay, let's move on, because I give gun control 2 weeks tops. What the fuck does that mean? What are you saying, Anuj? What are you saying? Look, 2 weeks tops for any headline, any major story. Have you guys noticed Uvalde coverage has hella died down recently? No one cares about it. It's been a week. It's been a week since this thing happened. And the gun control hype is like, it's kind of dying down. People are like, okay, infographics done, waiting for the next event, holding. People don't give a fuck anymore. That's just the way this fucking. I want to point this out, and I want to call out every single person that's a part of this fucking cycle because this is truly what's going on. You guys who are, self-proclaimed arms experts, military generals, armchair weathermen, whatever you are. You're a little bit of everything. You're just multi-talented people. Everyone said that this was going to be the end of gun control and that we have to do something and we have to create change. Look what happened. What happened? No one's talking about it anymore. It's been a week. This headline's already starting to die. Like, it's bull. It's bull. Like, what are we doing as a society? Like, honestly, we need to really look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, bruh, like we need to give these headlines more. Like, we need to keep clicking on these articles. I know okay. Here's my solution to how I think we could keep these things in the news. Keep clicking on the articles, keep consuming content if you're really passionate about this issue of gun control, keep consuming the content instead of waiting for the next fucking big shooting to happen and then getting outraged over it. Because if you keep the content going, these journalism organizations will continue to spit out content related to that sort of related to that issue because they know you want to see that issue take place and you want to see that issue on the news. So they're going to keep giving you more content, giving you more stuff, this, that, and the other. But now I guess I'm guilty of this too because I tend to talk about a lot of stuff that's trending and I don't follow up. I should do a better job of following up on stuff. But gun control is one of those things that like comes and goes in society. It's like the wind. So like literally that's what it's turned into. Back in 2017, Parkland was a huge deal. They did the March for Our Lives, hands up, don't shoot. We all left school. I remember this. We left high school for like an hour. Now, what is it? 2022? Gun control is still an issue. There's a shooting at an elementary school. What the hell? What the hell? Because clearly, like, no one, I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's the sad reality of the situation. Gun control has 2 weeks tops before another huge headline takes the face of the earth and everyone starts talking about that. Before abortion starts coming to the light. So it's like, it's such bullshit. I feel like journalism and like CNN runs on like content calendars where they're like, oh my God, this 2 weeks, like we're going to put this in season. Oh, but gun control is out of season now. So we're going to put death penalty next. San Quentin. Like it's trivializing and like almost dehumanizing a lot of these issues. And I feel like there needs to be more sort of stuff on gun control. And this is exactly why I didn't do a gun control episode when everybody wanted me to. Everyone was like, I need to do a gun control episode. Do research on guns and firearms and all this stuff. No, I'm not going to, because I'm not going to feed into this trending bullshit of like, oh, just because guns are trending, I'm going to make an episode about it. No, that's not what I'm about. I'm the type of person who is making these episodes because I want to educate people, and I'm not going to do it just because of a mass shooting. And I did a TikTok about Uvalde and what my thoughts were about that stuff. But I will do, let me tell you this, when gun control becomes not a thing anymore and everyone stops talking about it and they start talking about the next big issue, I'll do gun control. I will be the issue 2 weeks later. I'll keep following up. I want to. That's because that's what I want to do. I remember when the Oxford shooting happened earlier this year, everyone was like, oh, another one at school. I talked about it on my podcast, and I remember afterwards I felt like shit because I was like, what the fuck did I just do? Like, I literally just talked about this issue that I have, like, that no one cares about. And I did research into it, but also, like, I haphazardly did research into it. Like, it just felt wrong for some reason. I don't know what it was. I just felt that, like, I was contributing to this sensationalist media cycle, and I just did that story on the Changavi show just because of the fact that it was trending and just because of the fact that, like, kids' lives, unfortunately, had been lost. And I felt really insensitive and bad over that. And I was like, why do I do what I do? I do what I do because I want to make stuff that's, that's content that's relevant, but also that like makes you think and is kind of me bringing my own perspective to a whole other issue and or to issues that aren't necessarily, talked about. And gun control is being talked about everywhere right now. And I want to like wait a bit, wait for the dust to settle over this, because obviously we're in a very charged time when it comes to this issue with Uvalde and all of these things. So let the dust settle over this. Let people like, and here's another thing about gun control. I want to talk about this real quick. I fucking hate the journalists who shove microphones into women and men's faces who lost their poor children in the shooting. And they're like, so how do you feel? How do you feel about your kid dying? And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, let him chill. Like, it's been 2 hours. What? Like, they did. So many of these news organizations have these like unempathetic ass journalists who just shove microphones in their fucking in the kids' parents' faces who just lost children to arguably this is the most traumatic event of their entire life, and you're just shoving a microphone in the. So how do you feel about losing your child? Like, come on, man, have some fucking human empathy. Like, really? What? Like, would you like it? Like, if CNN's lead journalist lost their child in a mass shooting, what if I shoved a microphone in their face? I don't think they'd be very happy about it. And like, that's the thing, right? The Salvador Ramos was the shooter at Uvalde. They shoved a microphone in his mother's face, and they were like, "So how do you feel?" And like, "So how do you feel that like your son was a shooter and all of these things?" Like literally a day after the shooting, and she said some things. First of all, I want to make this very clear. Her quote was like, "He had a reason for what he did," and like that was the thing that went viral all over American media. Totally understand why. That's obviously not something that should be said. But I want to point this out. She responded in Spanish, and oftentimes I've seen this because I've talked to people who like translate, or like not people who translate, but like I've talked to people who like understand. I understand a good amount of Spanish, so I was able to like kind of understand what she was saying in the quote. But I've also talked to other people who speak other languages like Hindi and stuff, and like my parents and like other Indian aunties and uncles, like when they see like an Indian story on CNN, like they're like, the translation's bullshit. Like they don't know what the fuck they're saying. Like that's not what that means at all. And that's when I like clicked in my head. I was like, oh, that quote was totally lost in translation, because no way they got the translation right on that. I'm sure she was trying to express something that like there are certain things with like Spanish, like with languages like Hindi and languages like Spanish and all of these things where you can express a certain thought and feeling, but it comes out very wrong when you say it literally in English, but there's much more cultural context to it if you were part of that culture. And it's actually really interesting if you like delve into the linguistics of it all. But I felt so bad for her because I'm sure her words just got chopped up and misconstrued and got turned into a quote that was all over the news for no reason. But listen, if that's actually what she said, then like, like I'm obviously not with that. But like a lot of these quotes get lost in translation, particularly when they're coming from other languages and from translators who aren't necessarily like culturally aware. Like if like they're people who like understand the language from like an academic stance, like they went to college and they got a degree in Spanish or whatever, but like they don't really understand like the culture, like what it means to say certain Spanish in a certain community and all of these things and what that term could mean and whatnot. They're just saying like the literal translation based on a book, based on the academics that they studied. So I think that's very interesting. It's a very interesting example of like intercultural communication. Not me flexing my comm major at all, but but anyway, I'm not with the whole idea of like journalists shoving mics up people's faces. That's just unethical to me. I feel like that should be considered unethical journalism to a certain extent. Of like, yo, you should not be saying those things to people who just lost their like loved ones, but also are trying to process the fact that their loved one was in the wrong. In the case of Salvador Ramos's mother, and yeah, that's just. I don't think that's a great interview. And even for like the victims' families, like tossing the microphone in like the poor stepdad's face who just lost his daughter, like I wouldn't want that. I'd wait a week at least. Like, come on. Like, really? After a day? Like, I guess they agree to it. But like, I don't know. I just think it's unethical. I'm just not a fan. But look, I want to be more positive because I've been really negative on the news, and I always am, and I've always continued to be. But CNN did something right recently, and I want to point this out, and I want to give them their flowers for doing that. Well, their president of CNN, his name was Jeff Zucker, the ex-president. He was the one that really sort of instituted to CNN like partisan journalism. Let's do a lot of. And sorry for like the hazy look on the camera. It's just the skylight, the freaking sun is in the way. But Jeff Zucker, like I was saying, this guy Jeff Zucker was the ex-president of CNN, and basically his duty was to his duty was to like oversee the entire of CNN's operations, and his goals were to, number one, like cause clickbait, which is what like the break. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but like CNN has like breaking news above like every single one of their headlines, even though it's not breaking news. It'll be like breaking news: Donald Trump eats McDonald's. Like, okay, bro. So he was the one that sort of instituted that. He's like, we're gonna write breaking news for absolutely everything. We're going to we're going to be partisan. We're going to be more left leaning. We're not going to really bring on people from other perspectives, et cetera, et cetera. Like this was his MO. Like this was his vibe, truly. And so Jeff Zucker did all this stuff. He was like, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan. Jeff Zucker got fired. So Jeff Zucker got fired because he actually didn't report that he was in a relationship with another employee. That's a whole separate story. And they hired this new guy by the name of Jeff Licht. Jeff Licht, is that his name? Or Chris Licht? I think it's Chris Licht or Jeff Licht. Let me check. Yeah, Chris Licht. Chris Licht is the new president of CNN. And as you can tell, CNN hasn't changed much. But Chris Licht just went on the record recently and said he's going to get rid of those breaking news headlines on CNN. So everything that's like breaking news, Trump walked 5 steps today, more on his pedometer, right? That's going to go away. So there's not going to be breaking news for every single like non-breaking news headline. So they're getting rid of that unless it's urgent, and they're bringing on more conservative shows to the platform. So those are the two things that he announced. We'll see how soon they get enacted, but I think this is a really good first step for CNN. I'm glad that they're acknowledging the fact that they were a super hyper partisan organization for a long time. I'm glad that they're acknowledging the fact that their breaking news headlines are bullshit. And I'm glad that we're at the stage right now that we can say, oh my God, like, yes, CNN did something right. See, I'm not a bad person when it comes to like giving people their flowers, even though I may not agree with their organization fundamentally. I give CNN their flowers for that shit. At least, they're not hyper partisan anymore. At least they're acknowledging that there was issues within the organization when Jeff Zucker was running it. So shout out to Chris Licht. I hope that this is a good turning stone for CNN. I hope that they continue to change little things like that on their platform, because that's where it's going to start. And then hopefully you take the little things and, it's a snowball effect. But we'll see. At least CNN did something right for the time being. Okay. Listen, I got one. Let me do 2 more and then we're done. Tinder marketing. This is my latest scheme in trying to increase my numbers for the content. I'm trying to increase my numbers for the content by going on dating apps and reaching out to people and saying, hey, have you checked out my pod? Right? That's really what I've been doing recently. No, I thought of this recently. I was like, yo, Tinder's such an untapped place for marketing. Tinder is just this place where like, I feel like you can really micro market a lot of things to people and like be like, yo, like, have you checked out my thing? Have you checked this out? Have you checked that out? And usually like and actually I've heard from people that they respond. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Let me give this a try. And so a couple days ago, I just went on the internet went on Tinder for the first time in years and just started looking for the girls that had like Instagrams in their sort of Tinder bios. And I would just reach out to them and DM them a little bit about their podcast, maybe bring something out about their bio, right? Like individual unique messages to everybody. And a few of them responded and a few of them followed me. And I was like, oh shit. So if you're one of my Tinder marketing people, hi, hello. But like, yeah, like it's pretty cool, like how successful that was. Like I feel like I'm going to start doing that from now on, is just sliding into random people's DMs, not for the purpose of like dating or anything like that, but sliding into the DMs for subscribers. That's the way to go. No, I'm just like, I've had a little bit of success with it. It's been working pretty well. Like I'm not on these apps to date. I'm not on these apps to just, like do whatever it is these people are doing. I'm just I'm on the apps to get a little bit of exposure for my podcast. Um, and it's pretty fun. It's people are reaching out, people are saying yes, like people are saying okay. And it's had some success recently. So I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep seeing where it goes. Maybe it'll lead me down a dark, depressing road. But we will see. So far so good. So far it's been doing pretty well. And when I say it's doing well, it gets like a 10% success rate out of like the a lot of people, a lot of DMs I send out, maybe 5 or 10% respond. But I got a couple follows from it and a lot of, and a little bit of engagement. So that's pretty cool. I'm just looking for new ways to sort of reach the podcast to like different people. And, I like that. I like finding new ways and finding new avenues to sort of promote this thing. It's cool. Okay, I got one more topic and then we're going to end the show. Joe Biden. Of course we have to talk about Joe Biden on this show. Of course. Because Joe Biden's approval ratings have they're actually lower than what Donald Trump's approval ratings were back in 2019. So, I mean, I don't know what to say to that, but Joe Biden clearly is down bad. And there's so many reports that the Democrats are like coming out with, like the Democrats are looking for alternative candidates quietly while Joe Biden finishes out this term, even though Biden is insistent that he's going to run in 2024. But really, he said he's going to run in 2024 only if Donald Trump runs. So hopefully Trump doesn't run in 2024, which is highly unlikely. Because I do not want to see another Trump Biden matchup. That may make me so depressed to the point where I don't vote, because I don't know. I feel like if I'm the Democrats right now and I'm like Tom Perez, I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, Joe Biden, like half my party hates this guy. Half the people that I'm supposed to be targeting, that like progressives, millennials, work from home tech people hate this guy. Why? Or like work from home people hate this guy. Why should I keep fucking like supporting this dude? I think we need someone new. And I think that's truly like what America's looking for. I think America is looking for someone who's new and who's fresh. And that's really why Donald Trump won back in 2016, was because a lot of America thought that was new and fresh. And Joe Biden's not new and fresh. Joe Biden is like the fucking turkey pastrami sandwich at Subway. He's always going to be there. He's never going to go away. And even if your mascot gets arrested for child pornography like Jared from Subway did, the turkey pastrami sandwich is always going to hang around. That's what Joe Biden is. Joe Biden is the fucking turkey pastrami sandwich from Subway. Okay? Still $6. It was $6 12 years ago. It was $6 24 years ago. It's still going to be there 24 years from now. Okay? I guarantee you. Joe Biden is he's stale old bread. That's really what he is. And since his approval ratings have dipped, he's decided to go on Jimmy Kimmel. This is his new thing. He's like, oh, I got to win over the American people, so I'm going to go on their favorite late night show, which, by the way, late night is dying, but that's a topic for another day. He's going on Jimmy Kimmel, okay? And you wanted to use this opportunity, honestly. This pretty much has nothing to do with Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, he's cool. Whatever. I don't really like his stuff. He's just hyper liberal. So he's probably just going to throw a bunch of softballs at Joe and be like, so like, what do you eat for dinner at the White House? And then the laugh track goes off. Ah! And Joe's like, I just eat a little ice cream. Ah! I'm so sick of late night, dude. Fuck late night. Anyway, Joe Biden is going on Jimmy Kimmel this week because his approval ratings are down. And I really hope Jimmy Kimmel asks him a question like, so you're really super unlikable and now you're here. But I bet you the White House press is like all on Kimmel about the certain questions he can ask. And he can only play carpool karaoke with Joe Biden and make him seem like more of a human. When in reality, he's just stale old turkey pastrami sandwich from Subway. It's a fact. Joe Biden, my God, I have many thoughts. I'm just not his biggest fan. Even though, like, I'm sure he's probably a nice guy. listen, I'm sure Joe Biden is probably a very nice person. I've never met him personally. I don't think I will. I'm not nearly in the power position to like be able to meet Joe, but I feel like if I were to, we'd probably get along. He's just not the best president of the United States. He's also been through a lot in his life. Like, don't get me wrong. He's just not the best president. And I think we can all agree on that. Joe Biden, like, I feel like in 80 years is going to be like the most forgettable president of all time, because literally I like forget he's the president of this country sometimes. I'm like, Joe Biden, wow, he's really president of the United States. Like, he doesn't say much. Nothing really happens during his administration. Like, he's I don't know. He doesn't really do anything. Like, his presidency, at least his first term, should be marked by, it literally should be graded as an incomplete because he did nothing. Like, we're still in the same position as we were in 2020 with Donald Trump. At least with Trump, maybe some fireworks would have gone off. It would have been fun. But I get it. Listen, Trump is a terrible human being. He's an asshole. Understand all of that. But Joe Biden doesn't do shit. They're both so bad. They're both so bad. And now we're here. 2022. We're in 2024, 2 years from now, we may see these fools run again against each other. God, American politics just makes me depressed. I really hope the Democrats find somebody else, because it is not working out with Joe. It's not working out. But anyway, that's all I got on the show. Thank you guys so much for listening and dealing with the hazy background. If you're on YouTube, it looks like we're in the middle of friggin' India on this one, but no offense to India. It's just really smoggy there. But like and subscribe to my podcast if you enjoyed it. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're at 65 subscribers. Would love to get that up a little bit more. If you are interested, go follow me on social media. Links are down below. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, all under the handles of @the Changavi Show. Everywhere. Universal. Look it up. Boom. Follow. Wherever. And plus, if you're on Spotify, hit the follow button. That's all I had to say. Anyway, thank you guys so much. This is the new Changavi signing off from the Bay Area. I'll see y'all for the Changavi show later this week or next week. Not sure, but I'll see y'all. And thank you guys for listening. Appreciate all of you. All right. Have a great day. Have a great night, whatever it is. And I'll see you soon. Peace. Ha ha.